Boom! I got tax spray. You like it? It's Gary. I'm not showing my face, nor will I do a face reveal because my face looks like the water troll from the World of Warcraft. So here's the best Pokemon character of all time. Don't at me. Alright, let's get to a review. Let's start this really long review with some facts. You know what's cool? Samurai. Even cooler, Ronin. You know what's also cool? Black suits and shades. One foul thing that's cool? Organized crime. Stir it up in one pot and you get the Yakuza. The coolest thing of all time. Good thing there's an entire game series all about them. And today, we'll be covering its 8th and technically 9th entry. Let's get things started with the first review of the Comedic Overanalysis series. Also, spoilers, my BBG, and this video is mainly for people who are already in the know about like Dragon Infinite Wealth and the overall Yakuza series and franchise, so I'll be assuming you know about some of the stuff in the Yakuza series with no context. Alright, bye!
Close your eyes, you'll be here soon. 1,2,3,4時々本当に寝たいでもこのワードできない
Alright, the best place to start is, well, from the beginning. So we have 2 elderly people shot to death. Yeah, this game wastes no time getting you hooked like drugs. We finally get to see the guy who did it, and it's Bacchus, the tutorial guy from Yakuza 0. It isn't him, but it'd be really crazy if the tutorial guy from the first game chronologically was the final boss of this game. Kinda like, you know, how like Flowey is in Undertale. So we'll find out who killed the elderly couple later. Let's get to our main character, Ichiban Kasuge. There's so much to analyze about him later, but let's give a introduction now. He started his quest in Yakuza Like a Dragon and is known for being, well, very caring and charismatic. And a lot of people like him. Unlike most RPG protagonists, he actually has a personality. I see why this isn't a thing for most RPG main characters. It's for the sake of the roleplay part of the RPG. But this approach of having, you know, an actual character with his own compelling motivations to do what he does really contributes to the genre's strengths. It's amazing characters that you can get enveloped in the stories of for hours and hours on end. This man is my favorite fictional character of all time, and I don't think he will ever be topped unless a different character's voice actor saves my life from well, the real-life Yakuza. But more about Kasuga-san. He's also obsessed with RPGs to the point where he actually starts hallucinating his enemies as monsters. We'll get to my opinions about his hallucinations later, but for now I'd like to say that the hallucinations that this man has is a hilarious and creative way to justify the mechanics of this game, still keeping the real world setting of the game while still being able to do the cool magic stuff without having to build a magic system outside of... It's just some crazy guy imagining everything that happened. Similar to like Lewis Finch from The Remains of Edith Finch, if you know what that game is. But as you'll come to find out, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is kind of a spoof or parody of classic RPGs, at least in some parts, contrasting what our character imagines the grand adventures he's going on as compared to, well, the mundanity. In other RPGs, you're drinking potions of strength. In this game, you're consuming $3 grocery store beer in order to restore MP, which enhances this game's comedy aspect. So back to the story. After the events of Yakuza Like a Dragon, Ichiban Kasuga finds himself working at a place known as Hello Work, where people find jobs. We see a former Yakuza he's trying to work with so that he can re-enter the workforce after his life of organized crime. He is giving our main man some trouble. He is then kicked out and he storms off to do something. We skip past a bunch of random stuff no one cares about until we arrive at the first battle. And from the first battle, we know that this combat system is gonna make you clean your jeans. So let me spill sometimes literal tea on how this is an amazing battle system and more RPGs should represent. Alright, so this game's combat makes a lot of use of spatial awareness. Almost every move has an area of effect that can be used to hit multiple enemies. So the line between a single hit attack and a multi-hit attack gets extremely blurry. Some attacks travel across a straight line and hits everybody on that line, with the endpoint being anchored onto a specific target. Others have a splash area circle, and some send opponents knocking to other things or even other enemies. These are just the skills, but ooh boy, this game has the best basic attack mechanic in all RPGs. But before I get to straight meat munching, let's get to talking about my most basic attacks in RPGs suck ultra easy. Most of the time, you can only be using these basic attacks for the first few hours of the game until your selection of skills expands and your MP pool widens. And you mostly use those attacks for the rest of the game, especially if the game isn't that conservative on SP or whatever you use to cast magic. By the end of the game, basic attacks are rarely, if ever, used because they have, well, become outdated and do like no damage compared to the stuff you could be using. Here is how Infinite Wealth geniusly but very simply solves that major flaw with most RPGs that really, makes the mechanics a little more shallow in most JRPGs. First off, the basic attacks in Infinite Wealth actually do damage, yeah! These are actually good alternatives to using skills sometimes. Second thing, they send opponents flying into each other and they get a lot of bonuses a skill would normally not. For example, you can get extra damage from hitting an opponent when they are knocked down, getting close to them, or even hitting them from the back. This is another scenario where the game forces you to not just think about what you are doing, but where you are doing it, which really enhances what I love about turn-based RPGs, which is their strategy and that you have to actually think at least the most out of any genre. The final reason this game's basic attack is amazing is it lets you restore MP, so you get caught in the loop of using skills that make sure you restore MP by using basic attacks and repeating the cycle for the entire game. In some bosses, my strategy was, alright, I'm gonna make this character use a healing move until they can't anymore, and then just spam attack until they can heal again. And in between then, I'm gonna guard with my other characters, and then boom, I beat the boss, and it was a really cool strategizing moment I had for multiple points in the game, and I didn't, this game's goated. Alright, so, that has been my rant on the basics of the combat system. As you can see, things are already getting complex and interesting. Now, let's take a look at a Let's Play of Infinite Wealth to see how far we are into the story of Chapter 1. And we are 14 minutes into the actual game. Well, this will be the Overanalysis series for a reason. So, let's get back to the story, travelers, fans, buddies. The man we were just arguing with quiets down after we beat the brakes off him, and he throws money into the sewage below, I think. Ichiban Kasuga runs down to grab it. Yes, this man goes into the sewers, and yes, he has done, and yes, will do much nastier things. So don't you worry, your pretty little kettle. The man he did all this for finally feels shame. Then we are treated to security detail. Basically, what happens next is that Adachi's new job is finding holes in security to patch in good security by, well, hiring the guy we just beat, Sasaki, to go and try and steal something to test out the new security. This will come up later. Very important. For now, we are treated to the first 4 members of the party in Yakuza 7 catching up with each other. The next few hours are everyone's life until things go haywire. After the bar visit, we are introduced to the by far worst part of the entire game. Seriously, what were they thinking with the subplot I'm about to introduce? So, let's get to it. The Kasuga and Sayako Romance Subplot. This is already a trope I don't like for a multitude of reasons, but this one feels especially egregious because of how good of a just amazing story it chooses to interrupt. First are the 3 reasons I don't like this trope as a whole. First, it detracts from the actually good part of the story. I'm over here enjoying this really good plot about criminal intrigue and forgiveness and redemption, alright? And just stop at random points to pay lip service to this romance subplot that doesn't even come up that much. So what's even the point? It serves no point to the story, so why would you keep it in? Alright, my second reason I don't like romantic subplots that often is because usually the character pairings are just so random. Usually it's just most important male character and most important female character. Exploded! Third reason, and it's the biggest one, I'm a jealous guy. Alright, I don't care if something good happened to you. Should have happened to me instead. Now that we are done with that rant, Ichiban Kasuga asks Sayako out, and she at least says yes. Yay! 2 party members from the original Yakuza Like a Dragon basically coach Kasuga, fun to say, coach Kasuga, on how to date with our mage, Nanba, wanting Ichiban Kasuga to act natural, and Adachi wants him to act stylish. What precedes the life advice scene is an admittedly funny date scene. This all culminates with a confession that goes horribly wrong due to poor word choice, social ignorance, and awkwardness. He's just like me for real! The next day, he is berated by his friends for what he said on the date. They just be cooking him. And then he is asked to apologize to Psycho. It goes well, and then it cuts to 1 year later.
Present day. Present time.
Alright, Kasuga wakes up and goes to work just to hear he's been fired. We aren't told for what reason until he is harassed by a bunch of social media influencers. That's right, Jack Doherty is in the game, like a dragon, infinite wealth. Not actually, thank goodness. We are shown the reason that the harassment started. It was a VTuber spreading lies about our main character.
Film the video.
What's up, people? Tatara channel coming at ya. Let's get to it. Ladies and gents, our perp of the day. This man here is Ichiban Kasuga, a former gangster who was heavily involved in the dissolution of 2 major Yakuza factions 4 years ago. On top of that, some people even call him the hero of Yokohama. This exclusive footage was secretly recorded in Yokohama at a real Hello Work. Here we see none other than Ichiban Kasuga brazenly working the front desk. Meanwhile, the man sitting across from him is yet another former Yakuza.
The hell is this? Sasaki? This was like a misunderstanding!
Ichiban Kasuga seems to be whispering orders to his ex-Yakuza cohort. Then, having received his instructions from Kasuga, the ex-Yakuza leaves Hello Work, only to make a beeline for a mini-mart, a drugstore, and a fancy boutique. We catch him stealing things right off the shelves, even going so far as to use a fake hand.
Hey, hold up! That ain't right!
Finally, it looks like Kasuga then buys the items from his personal thief at a deep discount. According to our extensive research, in just this day, a whopping 2 million yens worth of product was stolen. Kasuga bought the lot for an unheard of 20 grand. In other words, he's having down-and-out ex-Yakuza steal for him, then making a tidy profit reselling the stolen goods. This is the secret, no, the true face of the hero of Yokohama!
Hey, what the hell? Which one of you made this?
Like she said, it's the Tatara channel. She's pretty much a god, and with 5 million subscribers at that. I mean, if anything, you should be proud you made it on her show, Kasuga-san.
My ass, I'm proud.
Alright, time to talk about Tatara. I think it is extremely interesting that the game has a streamer as the villain. As you will come to find out, the theme of the story is the past and the future, kind of. Kiryu represents the past and Kasuga represents the future. So would it not be genius to have Kasuga, the representative of the future, to go up against a streamer, specifically a VTuber? An extremely recent phenomenon. Also, one note, when this plot point got revealed in the trailers, I guess the ridiculous plot twist surrounding this character would either be that the person running the channel was secretly Kasuga's mother, or, like a dude. Well, we'll see if any of those are true in the future. Then he gets mugged by this influencer dude, and then real life person Asakusa, a real influencer, shows up in this game. He does mainly boxing content, but bro, imagine if a game made in the West did something like that. Imagine you're like playing GTA 6, and in part of the story, you fight Athlean X or something. Hey, PewDiePie moved to Japan, so maybe in the next Yakuza game, we might see a cameo from Big Man PewDiePie or something. I don't know, man. After the battle against the influencers, you find out that all your friends lost their jobs too because of the lie that Tatara spread. The next day, the homies come over to lift each other up, and they catch word of the Seiryu clan having another Yakuza meetup after the grand disbanding of the Tojo Clan and Omi Alliance from the last game, the two biggest Yakuza groups in the nation. Now it's time for me and the boys to head to Seiryu Clan HQ, and how they head in through the sewers, which is how you get introduced to the swimming mechanic, as then elaborate on once you get to 4. Once you merge, you go through a dungeon that is an amazing way to start a game. Legit great dungeon that introduces you to 3 distinct classes and allows you to go ham on a wide variety of enemies with different shapes and attacks and elements and weaknesses that really lets you get a feel for the gameplay, because after 3 hours of cutscenes we are given the ability to let loose with our old pals that we so love. Anyways, let's jump to the boss of this dungeon. It's 3 people actually. Yep, a common trope for most of the bosses in this game is that they are not alone. Multi-bosses are the rule, not the exception. The reason they did this was to increase difficulty and encourage more interaction with the really good AoE mechanics of this game. Eventually, all the enemies are down, and we make it to the totally non-suspicious Masataka Ebina. He tells us that he's giving ex-Yakuza new jobs by storing storage in a facility that he made that is not suspicious at all. We go outside to see Joe Sawashiro, and that's it for this chapter. Woo! Long. I promise the next chapter analysis will not be that long. But this is kind of how you start a game. You let us get to meat and potatoes of the game relatively quickly, introduce our characters, or in this case, reintroduce characters, and set up the conflict well. If it wasn't for the romance subplot, this would have been the best chapter 1 of the series, or at least the games I played, but sadly, that title is still kept by Yakuza 0. So, I give this chapter an 8 out of 10. Now, I think it's time for a good old-fashioned intermission or break.
改变只需一颗俏皮洗衣溶珠，俏皮全国招生热线400-800-5086。
If you liked that, consider hitting like and subscribe if you want to. Have a good day, sir or ma'am.